It actually took a pretty brutal beating to push me out of the sport, and that's coming straight from the man himself, Manny Pacquiao. He wasn't just tough, he was relentless. Pacquiao was right there in front of me, throwing punch after punch, like 15 solid hits. And just when I thought I had my moment to strike back, he'd leave himself wide open. But no matter how ready I was, I just couldn't pull the trigger. It was like something inside me held back. That's the kind of fighter Manny is unbelievable. Now he's making a comeback, aiming for the WBC title at 147 pounds. I wish him nothing but the best. Can he pull it off? Absolutely. Without a doubt, Oscar De La Hoya, another legend in the sport, echoed that sentiment when he spoke about Manny's chances. He called Pacquiao a legend and said that while it won't be easy, he truly believes Manny can do it. And let's be honest, this isn't just any fighter stepping back in the ring. Pacquiao is 46 years old, hasn't fought in nearly 4 years, and his last fight ended in a loss. Yet here he is, not just coming back for a friendly exhibition, but jumping straight into a world title fight. On paper, it might not make sense. But anyone who's followed boxing closely knows Pacquiao was never about playing it safe or sticking to the script. Manny was the storm in the late rounds, a blur of fists that opponents never saw coming. His legacy wasn't built on cautious tactics. It was forged by defying every expectation the sport threw at him. Now his opponent is Mario Barrios, a fighter 13 years his junior, reigning WBC welterweight champ, and right in his prime. Most fighters would avoid such a matchup, and most retired legends wouldn't even entertain the idea. But Pacquiao, he didn't just accept the challenge, he's hungry for that. When Oscar De La Hoya warned Barrios to think twice before taking on Manny, it wasn't just trash talk, it was a serious heads up. This isn't just a comeback, this is a full-on challenge. And if history has shown us anything, it's that you never bet against Pacquiao when he's chasing something important. When Manny announced his return, the world's reaction was more shock than cheers. He hadn't fought since 2021, had dived deep into politics, and most people had written off his boxing career. Then the announcement came, July 19th in Las Vegas, fighting for the WBC welterweight title. No warm-up fights, no exhibitions, just jumping straight back into the fire against a prime champion. Meanwhile, the sport had moved on without him. New contenders had risen, belts changed hands, and boxing seemed to have accepted his absence. No press conferences, no public workouts, just family, public service, and silence. But behind that quiet exterior, Manny was still watching. Maybe the world mistook his silence for retirement, assuming the storm had finally passed. But Pacquiao has never needed the spotlight to stay sharp. He doesn't train for cameras, he trains because movement is part of who he is. Even now, his hands are fast, his eyes track with precision, and his rhythm still challenges expectation. Occasionally, a short clip surfaces online, just 15 seconds, no quotes, no music, showing Pacquiao locked in, looking like he never left. Suddenly, fans started whispering the question no one wanted to admit. What if he's not done yet? Those whispers grew into rumors, finally confirmation. Manny Pacquiao was gearing up to fighting. But this isn't about reliving old glory. This is about making a final statement. Manny already has more accolades than most active fighters. 8 division titles, Fighter of the Decade honors, a Hall of Fame career secured long ago. And yet here he is, ready to put everything on the line once more. Because for Pacquiao, legacy doesn't take a break. One win over a reigning champion could rewrite the story of age and greatness in boxing. The risk is real, time doesn't. Spare anyone, no matter how legendary. When he steps into that ring, he won't be as quick, maybe not as durable, and definitely not carrying the momentum of his younger days. But if history has taught us anything, it's that Pacquiao doesn't just survive when people count him out, he thrives. He's not coming back to prove anything to the fan. In his mind, this chapter isn't over. He's ready to write last thrilling page under the bright lights of Las Vegas. Manny Pacquiao isn't just a legend, he's boxing mythology brought to life. With 62 wins, 8 weight divisions conquered, and 26 knockouts, he wasn't supposed to dominate featherweights, much less welterweights. But time and again, Pacquiao defied the odds, dismantling names like Barrera, Morales, Cotto, and Thurman with footwork so fast it looked like something out of a movie. Still, this isn't 2010 anymore. This is 2025, and the reality is harsh. Legends don't get a free pass. When Pacquiao last fought in 2021, he didn't look washed up, but he also didn't look like the unstoppable force he once was. His opponent, Yordenis Ugas, was younger, fresher, and sharper. That was enough to hand Manny a loss. He took it with grace, but the signs signs were clear. Time had dulled his timing and slowed reflexes. Now, 4 years later, the big question looms. Can he come back stronger? Even the greatest fighters like Ali, Leonard, and Roy Jones experienced the inevitable slowdown. Greatness doesn't defeat the clock. It only postpones the inevitable. Pacquiao's speed once made him untouchable, a blur that was impossible to track. But now, the question isn't what he was. It's whether that speed still matters when his legs don't move the way they used to. It's not just about the physical rhythm, instincts, and timing, honed only through constant repetition. Ring rust isn't just about stamina. It's about those milliseconds between landing a clean shot or getting caught. Being out of the ring for 4 years doesn't just dull reflexes, it rewires how you move and react. And going up against someone like Barrios, who's younger, sharper, and in his prime rhythm, that's not a warm-up, that's a full-on risk. But this is where the story could take a surprising turn. Pacquiao has never relied solely on youth or brute strength. He wins through movement, angles, pressure, and controlled chaos disguised as rhythm. He doesn't slug it out. He overwhelms with volume, bursts, and feints you never see coming. If that instinct, the sixth sense for timing and space, is still intact even at 46, he might be too much for a fighter like Barrios, who has never faced someone this unpredictable. Pacquiao doesn't have to be the fighter he once was. He just needs to be sharp enough, smart enough, and relentless enough to make Barrios question himself, even if it's only for a single round. Because in fights like these, one round can change everything. Mario Barrios isn't stepping into this fight as some placeholder. He's the reigning WBC welterweight champion with 29 wins, just 2 losses, and the kind of discipline that makes him one of the division's most focused athletes. At 30 years old, he's entering his prime. Tall, rangy, armed with a stiff jab and the endurance to go deep. He's not flashy, but he's efficient, breaking opponents down round by round. He's not chasing knockouts, he's methodic, suffocating his opponents with pressure, smart footwork, and calculated aggression. Since moving up to welterweight, Barrios has grown sharper, more composed, and far more patient. The wild, sometimes reckless puncher from his super lightweight days has evolved into a tactician who knows exactly where he is and where he wants to go. But this challenge is unlike anything Barrios has faced before. He's not just fighting a textbook welterweight. He's facing controlled chaos. Pacquiao doesn't move like anyone else in the division. One moment he's right in front of you. The next he's circling your blind side, unloading a flurry of punches from an angle you didn't think existed. That unpredictability is what makes this fight so dangerous. Barrios has never dealt with pressure, timing, and unpredictability, especially not from a fighter who seemingly has nothing left to prove but everything left claim. But Barrios isn't walking into this fight. He understands the stakes. He calls the fight an honor, but he's not there just to pay tribute. He's there to win. Because beating Pacquiao doesn't just mean retaining a belt, it means rewriting your name into boxing's bigger conversation. It's the difference between being just another champion and becoming a star. Mario Barrios has the youth, the power, and the momentum on his side, but all of that counts for nothing if he can't survive what's coming. Because now he has to walk through fire and prove he deserves to share the same spotlight as Manny Pacquiao. Few people understand that fire better than Oscar De La Hoya. Back in 2008, De La Hoya stepped into the ring, bigger, favored, and decorated as a 6th Division world champion expected to dominate. But instead of victory, he ended the night broken, silent, and unable to continue. Pacquiao didn't just beat him, he dismantled him systematically and without mercy. That's the legacy Manny carries into this fight. But here's the thing. Pacquiao's legacy isn't just about the fights he won or the belts he claimed. It's about the way he fought. He brought heart, speed, and a style all his own. You could never fully prepare for him because he wasn't just a boxer, he was a force of nature in the ring. And that's why this comeback feels different. It's not just another chapter. It's almost like a test of whether the magic still lingers. Can a fighter with decades of battles under his belt still surprise us? Can he still make us hold our breath when he steps into the ring?